Gabriel Kent watched the rain hammer against the diner window, his coffee growing cold in the chipped mug before him. The weather forecast had promised sunshine, but Seattle had other plans, and now he was stuck without an umbrella, wondering how he would get his 7-year-old daughter Macy from school without both of them getting drenched. His phone buzzed with a text from his ex-wife reminding him it was his day to pick up Macy, as if he would ever forget. Gabriel worked as a mechanic at a small auto shop downtown, and while the pay was not terrible, it never seemed to stretch far enough after child support, rent, and everything else that came with being a single dad trying to make it work in an expensive city. He left a crumpled $5 bill on the counter, grabbing his worn jacket and the black umbrella he had picked up from a thrift store last month. The thing was sturdy enough, with a wooden handle that felt solid in his grip. As he stepped outside, the rain seemed to intensify, sheets of water cascading from the gray sky. Gabriel hunched his shoulders and started walking toward the bus stop, calculating in his head whether he had enough time to get across town before Macy's school let out. He hated being late, hated the way her face would fall when she was one of the last kids waiting. That was when he saw her. A woman in an expensive-looking cream-colored coat stood pressed against the wall of a boutique, trying unsuccessfully to shield herself from the downpour. Her dark hair was plastered to her face, and she held a designer handbag over her head in a futile attempt to stay dry. Everything about her screamed wealth, from her leather shoes to the delicate gold watch on her wrist. But right now, she looked utterly miserable and completely unprepared for Seattle weather. Gabriel slowed his pace, instinct warring with practicality. He needed that umbrella. Macy needed that umbrella. But the woman looked so distressed, her mascara beginning to run down her cheeks as she frantically tapped at her phone. Before he could overthink it, Gabriel walked up to her. "Excuse me, miss," he said, raising his voice over the rain. "You look like you could use this more than me." The woman looked up, startled. Her eyes were an unusual shade of green, bright even in the gray afternoon light. "What?" Gabriel extended the umbrella toward her. "Take it! You are getting soaked." She stared at him as if he had spoken a foreign language. "I cannot take your umbrella. You will get wet." "I will be fine. I am used to it." Gabriel pushed the umbrella into her hands, noting how soft they were, clearly unused to manual labor. "Really, take it." "But how will you? I have got to run. Bus to catch." Gabriel was already backing away, rain immediately soaking through his jacket. "Stay dry, okay?" He turned and jogged toward the bus stop, leaving the woman standing there with his umbrella, her mouth slightly open in surprise. The rain was cold, working its way through his clothes within seconds, but Gabriel felt oddly good about the gesture. His mother had raised him to help people when he could, even when he had little to spare. What Gabriel did not know was that the woman he had just helped was Fiona Barrett, founder and CEO of Barrett Tech, a software company worth over $300 million. Fiona had been in Seattle for a series of meetings with potential investors, and her assistant had dropped her off at the wrong address. Her phone was dying, her carefully planned schedule was falling apart, and she had been standing in the rain feeling more helpless than she had in years. Then this stranger, this soaking wet man in a worn jacket, had simply given her his umbrella and walked away without asking for anything in return. Fiona stood under the shelter of the black umbrella, watching the man disappear into the crowd. She noticed the way his shoulders hunched against the rain, the purposeful stride of someone with somewhere important to be. Most people in her world would have seen her distress as an opportunity, a chance to network or ask for something. This man had just helped her and left. She looked down at the umbrella in her hands, turning it slowly. It was not expensive, probably bought secondhand, but it was well-maintained and sturdy. The kind of thing someone would take care of because they could not easily replace it. Fiona felt something shift in her chest, an unfamiliar warmth that had nothing to do with being out of the rain. Gabriel made it to Macy's school with 2 minutes to spare, completely drenched but grinning when he saw his daughter's face light up at the sight of him. She was a small girl with dark curls like his and gray eyes that saw everything. She took one look at her father and frowned. "Daddy, you are all wet. Where is your umbrella?" Gabriel scooped her up, ignoring the water dripping from his clothes. "I gave it to someone who needed it more, sweetheart." "Come on, let's make a run for the bus." "But you will get sick," Macy protested, even as she giggled when Gabriel started jogging, holding her close to his chest to keep her as dry as possible. "I have got a strong constitution, Mize. Takes more than a little rain to knock me down." They made it home to their small apartment, Gabriel immediately stripping off his wet clothes and hanging them to dry while Macy chattered about her day at school. She had a spelling test tomorrow and needed help studying. Gabriel listened, asked questions, and felt the familiar ache of wanting to give her more than he could afford. Their apartment was clean but sparse, with mismatched furniture and a kitchen that barely fit 2 people. The heat was sometimes temperamental, and the walls were thin enough that they could hear their neighbors arguing most nights. But it was home, and Macy was happy, and that was what mattered. Later that evening, after Macy was asleep, Gabriel sat at the small table in their living room, going over bills and trying to figure out how to make the numbers work. His car needed new brakes, which meant doing the work himself to save on labor costs, but he still needed to buy parts. There was Macy's school field trip next month that required a permission slip, and $40 he did not really have to spare. His rent was due in 2 weeks, and he was cutting it closer than he liked. Gabriel rubbed his eyes, exhaustion settling into his bones. He thought briefly about the umbrella, about the woman with the green eyes and expensive coat. He wondered if she had made it to wherever she was going safely. Then he pushed the thought away and focused on the spreadsheet in front of him, looking for places to trim expenses. Across the city, Fiona sat in her hotel suite, the black umbrella propped against the wall by the door. She had made it to her meeting, late but present, and had successfully closed the deal she had been working on for months. But her mind kept drifting back to the man in the rain, the way he had given away something he clearly needed without hesitation. Fiona was used to grand gestures from people who wanted something from her. Lavish gifts, expensive dinners, elaborate pitches designed to impress. This man had given her a thrift store umbrella and walked away in the rain, and it had affected her more than any of those calculated attempts at her attention. She picked up her phone and called her assistant. "Marcus, I need you to do something for me." There was a man today, helped me during that rainstorm. Early 30s, maybe 6 feet tall, dark hair, wearing a gray jacket with some kind of logo on it. He gave me his umbrella near that boutique on 5th Avenue. I want to find him. There was a pause on the other end of the line. "You want me to find a random stranger who helped you in the rain?" "Yes, can you do it or not?" "I can try. Do you have anything else? Any other identifying information?" Fiona thought back, picturing the man's face. Strong jaw, kind eyes, calloused hands. He seemed like he worked with his hands. Blue collar, maybe construction or mechanical work. He mentioned catching a bus, so he does not own a car or did not have it with him. "That is not a lot to go on, Miss Barrett. You have found people with less. And Marcus, be discreet about this. I do not want him to feel like he is being investigated." "Of course. I will see what I can do." Fiona ended the call and walked to the window, looking out at the Seattle skyline. She had built her company from nothing, working 18-hour days and sacrificing everything for success. She had money, influence, and respect, but somewhere along the way she had lost sight of the simple kindnesses that made life meaningful. That stranger had reminded her of something she had forgotten, and she wanted to thank him properly. 3 days passed before Marcus called her back. "I found him. His name is Gabriel Kent, 32 years old, works as a mechanic at a shop called Reliable Auto Repair downtown. He has a 7-year-old daughter named Macy, divorced, and lives in an apartment in the Central District. From what I can tell, he is a decent guy." pays his bills on time, no criminal record, well-liked by his coworkers. Does he know you were looking into him? No, I was careful. What do you want to do with this information? Fiona considered the question. She could simply send him a new umbrella and a thank you note, keep it impersonal and distant. But something made her want to do more, to actually meet him again and have a proper conversation. Where does he work? Give me the address. Miss Barrett, are you planning to just show up at his workplace? That might come across as, I know how it might come across. Give me the address, Marcus. He sighed and provided the information. Fiona wrote it down, already planning her approach. She had built a business empire by taking calculated risks. This was just another one, albeit in a completely different arena. Gabriel was elbow-deep in the engine of a 2010 Honda Civic when his boss, Terry, called out to him. Hey, Kent, you have got a visitor. Gabriel straightened, wiping his hands on a rag that only spread the grease around. A visitor? I am not expecting anyone. Well, she is asking for you specifically, says she needs to speak with you about something important. Gabriel's mind went immediately to his ex-wife, wondering if something had happened with Macy, but it was not his custody day, so that did not make sense. He walked toward the front of the shop, still holding the greasy rag. Fiona stood in the waiting area, looking completely out of place in her tailored navy suit and heels. She held the black umbrella in one hand, and when Gabriel emerged from the garage, her face lit up with recognition. You, Gabriel said, stopping short. You are the woman from the rain. I am. And you are the man who gave me his umbrella. Fiona extended it toward him. I wanted to return it and thank you properly. Gabriel looked at the umbrella, then at her, confusion evident on his face. You did not have to come all the way here for that. You could have just kept it. I could have, but that would not have been right. It is yours. Fiona held it out more insistently, and Gabriel took it, leaving a smudge of grease on the handle. Sorry, I am kind of in the middle of work here. Gabriel gestured at his stained coveralls. But thanks for bringing it back, I guess. There was an awkward pause. Fiona had planned this moment, rehearsed what she would say, but now that she was standing in front of him, the words felt wrong. She did not want to overwhelm him or make him uncomfortable by revealing who she was or offering money. That would cheapen what he had done. Could I buy you a coffee? The words came out in a rush. To say thank you properly, I promise I will not take up much of your time. Gabriel glanced back at the shop, then at Fiona. She looked nervous, which was oddly endearing given how put together she appeared. I have got about 15 minutes for a break. There is a coffee cart around the corner if you do not mind walking. Relief flooded Fiona's features. That would be perfect. Gabriel told Terry he was taking his break and led Fiona out of the shop, acutely aware of his appearance next to her polished elegance. They walked in silence for a moment before Gabriel spoke. You really did not have to do this. It was just an umbrella. It was more than that, Fiona said quietly. You gave away something you needed without expecting anything in return. That is rare. Gabriel shrugged, uncomfortable with the praise. My mom taught me to help people when I can. It is not that big a deal. It is to me. Fiona stopped walking, forcing Gabriel to turn and look at her. I have spent the last 3 days thinking about that moment. In my world, people do not do things without wanting something in return. You did, and I wanted to meet you again and understand why. Gabriel studied her face, noting the sincerity in her green eyes. Honestly, I did not think about it that much. You needed help, I could help, so I did. That is just being a decent person. They reached the coffee cart, and Fiona ordered 2 lattes, refusing to let Gabriel pay despite his protests. They found a nearby bench and sat down, the autumn air crisp around them. Can I ask you something? Fiona said, cradling her cup. You mentioned catching a bus. Where were you headed in such a hurry? To pick up my daughter from school. She is 7 and I hate being late. Gabriel took a sip of his coffee, savoring the warmth. She worries when I am not there on time. You have a daughter. It was not a question, and something in Fiona's voice shifted, became softer. Yeah, Macy. She is the best thing in my life. Her mom and I divorced 2 years ago and we share custody, but I make sure I am always there for my days. Kids need stability, you know. Fiona nodded, though Gabriel suspected she did not really know. She had the bearing of someone whose life was dictated by work, not family obligations. That is admirable. A lot of fathers would not prioritize that. Well, a lot of fathers are idiots. Gabriel's tone was matter-of-fact. Macy did not ask to be born into a split household. The least I can do is show up for her. They talked for the full 15 minutes, the conversation flowing more easily than either of them expected. Fiona found herself drawn to Gabriel's straightforward honesty, the way he talked about his daughter with such obvious love and pride. Gabriel, for his part, was intrigued by this well-dressed woman who seemed genuinely interested in his life, despite their obvious differences in circumstances. When Gabriel's break was over, they stood, and there was a moment of hesitation. Fiona did not want to leave, did not want this connection to end, but she did not know how to extend it without seeming strange or forward. "Thank you for the coffee," Gabriel said, filling the silence. "And for returning the umbrella." "Thank you for the conversation," Fiona replied. She pulled a business card from her purse and held it out. "If you ever need anything, please do not hesitate to call." Gabriel took the card, reading it with widening eyes. "Barrett Tech, you are Fiona Barrett." "As in, the Fiona Barrett? Guilty." Fiona waited for his demeanor to change, for the sudden interest or calculation that usually entered people's expressions when they learned who she was. But Gabriel just looked impressed. "Wow, I read an article about your company last year. You built something really amazing." He pocketed the card. "Though I am not sure what you think I would need from a tech CEO, but I appreciate the gesture." "You never know," Fiona said lightly, though her heart was beating faster than normal. "Maybe I am looking for an honest mechanic." Gabriel laughed, the sound warm and genuine. "Well, if your car ever needs work, you know where to find me." They parted ways, but both of them kept thinking about the encounter for the rest of the day. Fiona found herself distracted in meetings, her mind drifting to Gabriel's easy smile and the way he had talked about his daughter. Gabriel told Macy about the fancy lady who had returned his umbrella, leaving out the part about her being a millionaire CEO because it seemed too bizarre to be real. Over the next 2 weeks, Fiona found excuses to drive by the auto shop, telling herself she was just in the neighborhood. She never stopped, too uncertain of her reception, but she looked for Gabriel each time, catching glimpses of him working on cars through the garage bay doors. It was ridiculous, this fascination with a man she had spoken to for less than half an hour, but she could not seem to shake it. Gabriel thought about calling the number on the business card more than once, but each time he talked himself out of it. What would he say? What could a mechanic possibly have to discuss with the CEO of a tech company? She had been nice, maybe even interested in him as a person, but they lived in completely different worlds. It would never work. Fate, however, had other plans. Gabriel's car finally gave out completely, the transmission dying on his way to pick up Macy. He managed to coast into a parking lot, frustration and panic warring in his chest. He had the skills to fix it himself, but not the parts, and definitely not the money to pay someone else to do it. He called his ex-wife, explaining the situation, and she agreed to pick up Macy this time but made it clear she was not happy about the inconvenience. Gabriel sat in his dead car, head against the steering wheel, trying to figure out his next move. He needed this car for work, for getting Macy to school, for everything. Public transportation would add hours to his already packed schedule. He could maybe borrow money from Terry, but he hated being in debt to anyone. His hand found Fiona's business card in his wallet, and he stared at it for a long moment. She had said to call if he needed anything. But this felt too much like asking for a handout, and Gabriel's pride rebelled against the idea. Still, maybe she knew of a place that did payment plans or had some other resource he was not aware of. It was worth a shot. He dialed the number before he could change his mind. A polished voice answered, "Barrett Tech, how may I direct your call?" I am looking for Fiona Barrett. My name is Gabriel Kent. She gave me her card a couple weeks ago. One moment, please, Mr. Kent. There was a pause, some clicking, and then Fiona's voice came on the line, sounding slightly breathless. Gabriel, is everything all right? Hi, yeah, sorry to bother you at work. This is probably stupid, but you said to call if I needed anything, and I was not sure who else to ask. Of course, what do you need? Fiona was already standing, grabbing her jacket. Something in his voice told her this was important. My car died. Transmission is completely gone. I can fix it myself, but I cannot afford the parts right now, and I was wondering if you knew of any places that might do payment plans or something. I know it is not really your area, but I thought maybe— Where are you? Fiona interrupted. What? Where is your car? I am coming to you. No, you do not have to do that. I just needed advice, maybe a recommendation, Gabriel. Fiona's voice was firm. Where are you? He gave her the address, too tired and stressed to argue further. Fiona was there in 20 minutes, pulling up in a sleek silver sedan that probably cost more than Gabriel made in a year. She got out, and Gabriel noticed she had changed from whatever she was wearing earlier into dark jeans and a soft sweater, as if she had gone home first. Her hair was pulled back in a ponytail, and she looked younger, more approachable. Let me see, she said, gesturing to his car. Gabriel popped the hood, and Fiona peered at the engine with an expression of complete confusion. I have no idea what I am looking at. Despite his stress, Gabriel laughed. Then why did you ask to see it? I do not know, it seemed like the thing to do. Fiona looked at him, her expression softening. Tell me what you need to fix it. Fiona, I did not call you so you would pay for my car, I just wanted advice. I know. But I want to help. Please, let me help. Gabriel shook his head. I cannot accept that, it would not be right. Why not? You helped me without hesitation. An umbrella is different from a car transmission. That is probably going to run at least $800 in parts alone. I can afford it. That is not the point. Gabriel's jaw was set stubbornly. I do not take handouts. Fiona studied him, recognizing the pride in his stance, the same pride that had probably gotten him through countless difficult situations. She knew pushing would only make him dig in harder, so she changed tactics. Okay, what if you worked for it? I have been meaning to hire someone to help me with some things around my house. Yard work, maybe some minor repairs. You could do that, and we could call it even. Gabriel was skeptical. You are making up work just to help me. I am offering you a job. Whether or not you take it is up to you. Fiona crossed her arms. But my offer to help with the car stands either way, because you helped me when I needed it, and this is me returning the favor. They stood there in the parking lot, locked in a silent battle of wills. Finally, Gabriel sighed. If you are serious about the work, I will do it, but I am not taking any money until I have earned it, and I get to pay for half the car parts myself. Deal. Deal, Fiona agreed, though she had no intention of actually making him pay for anything. They arranged for Gabriel's car to be towed to Reliable Auto Repair, where he could work on it after hours. Fiona offered to drive him home, and Gabriel accepted after checking that his ex-wife had Macy settled for the evening. Sitting in Fiona's car, he was acutely aware of the luxury surrounding him, the new car smell and soft leather seats that were worlds away from his usual experience. Thank you, Gabriel said quietly as Fiona navigated through traffic. This really saved me. I do not know what I would have done. You would have figured something out. You seem like the type who always does. Fiona glanced at him, but I am glad I could help. They drove in comfortable silence for a while before Gabriel spoke again. Why are you doing this? And do not say it is because I gave you an umbrella. This is way more than that. Fiona considered her answer carefully. Because when you helped me, you reminded me of something I had forgotten. That there are still good people in the world who do things without ulterior motives. I spend my days surrounded by people who want something from me, who see me as a means to an end. You just saw someone who needed help and helped them. That is rare, Gabriel, rarer than you realize. Gabriel absorbed this, hearing the loneliness beneath her words. That sounds exhausting. It is, Fiona admitted. I love my work, but sometimes I wonder what I have sacrificed for it. Family, friends, both. I have coworkers and business associates, but not many real friends. My family is supportive but distant. I have devoted everything to building Barrett Tech, and now that I have achieved that, I look around and realize I am alone in my success. Gabriel directed her to his apartment building, and Fiona pulled into a visitor spot. The neighborhood was clearly low income, with buildings that had seen better days and cars that were held together more by hope than proper mechanics. Gabriel noticed her taking it all in and felt a flash of embarrassment before pushing it down. This was his life, and he was not ashamed of working hard to provide for his daughter, even if the results were not impressive. This is me, he said, reaching for the door handle. Gabriel, Fiona's voice stopped him. Would you be free this Saturday? You could come by my house and we could discuss what work needs doing. And if you wanted to bring Macy, I have a pretty big yard. She might enjoy it. Gabriel studied her face, looking for pity or condescension, but found only genuine hope. You really want me to bring my 7-year-old to your house? Why not? You said she is the best thing in your life. I would like to meet her, if that is okay with you. Something in Gabriel's chest loosened. The fact that Fiona wanted to meet Macy, acknowledged that his daughter was a package deal, meant more than she probably realized. Okay, Saturday works. Just send me the address. Fiona's smile was brilliant. Great, come around 10, I will make lunch. Gabriel agreed and headed inside, his mind spinning with the strange turn his life had taken. 2 weeks ago, he had been a struggling mechanic with no prospects beyond his next paycheck. Now he was apparently going to spend Saturday at a millionaire's house with his daughter, doing yard work to pay off a car repair that probably did not need to be paid off at all. It was surreal. He called Macy that night, knowing she would be getting ready for bed at her mom's house. Hey, sweetheart, did you have a good evening? Hi, Daddy. Mommy said your car broke down. Are you okay? I am fine, Mize. A friend is helping me fix it. Actually, I wanted to ask you something. How would you feel about coming with me on Saturday to help with some yard work? The lady who is helping with the car has a big yard and said you could come. Really? Can I bring my soccer ball? Gabriel smiled at the phone. I am sure that would be fine. It is a date then. I will pick you up Saturday morning. Okay, I love you, Daddy. Love you too, sweetheart. Sleep tight. Saturday arrived with clear skies and mild temperatures, perfect weather for outdoor work. Gabriel picked up Macy from her mother's house, listening to her excited chatter about a science project she was working on at school. She was wearing her favorite purple shirt with a unicorn on it and had insisted on bringing both her soccer ball and a book, just in case she got bored. Fiona's address led them to a neighborhood Gabriel had only driven through, never imagining he would actually visit. The houses were massive, set back from the street with manicured lawns and tall fences providing privacy. Fiona's house was a beautiful modern design with large windows and a front yard that, while well-maintained, showed signs of neglect in the details. Flower beds needed weeding, hedges needed trimming, and the grass could use a proper edging. Gabriel parked his freshly repaired car in the circular driveway, and Macy's eyes went wide. Daddy, this house is huge. Does she live here all by herself? I think so, Gabriel said, taking Macy's hand as they walked to the front door. Fiona answered almost immediately, as if she had been waiting for them. She had dressed casually in jeans and a soft gray shirt, her hair loose around her shoulders. Her face brightened when she saw them, particularly when her gaze landed on Macy. You must be Macy. I am Fiona. Your dad has told me a lot about you. Macy looked up at her with curious eyes. He told me you helped fix his car. Thank you. Daddy needs his car for work. You are welcome. Would you like to come inside? I made cookies earlier. That won Macy over immediately. What kind? Chocolate chip. I hope that is okay. That is my favorite. Fiona led them inside, and Gabriel tried not to gape at the interior of the house. It was beautifully decorated, but somehow still felt warm, lived in despite its size. The kitchen was enormous, with marble countertops and top-of-the-line appliances. A plate of cookies sat on the island, and Macy made a beeline for them after Fiona gave her permission. "Your home is beautiful," Gabriel said, meaning it. "Thank you. It is too big for one person, honestly, but I fell in love with it when I saw it." Fiona poured coffee for Gabriel and milk for Macy. "I thought we could eat first, then you could take a look at what needs doing outside. No rush." They sat in Fiona's sunroom, which overlooked the backyard, and talked while eating sandwiches Fiona had prepared. Macy entertained them with stories from school, completely at ease in a way that surprised Gabriel. His daughter was usually shy around strangers, but something about Fiona put her at ease. Maybe it was the cookies, or maybe it was the genuine interest Fiona showed in Macy's elaborate story about her friend Emma and a disputed swing set incident. After lunch, Gabriel walked the property with Fiona while Macy kicked her soccer ball around the expansive backyard, her delighted shouts carrying through the air. The yard was even bigger than it had appeared from the front, with mature trees and a small pond that had seen better days. "This is going to be more than one day's work," Gabriel said honestly. "The flower beds alone need several hours of attention, and that pond needs a complete cleaning and probably some repair to the pump system. The hedges, the lawn edging, general maintenance. We are looking at multiple weekends, at least." "Then I guess I will be seeing a lot of you too," Fiona said lightly, but her heart was beating faster at the prospect. Gabriel looked at her, really looked at her, and saw the hope in her eyes. She was not just offering him work. She was offering connection, companionship, a chance to be part of something beyond the transactional nature of their deal. He should probably be wary, should question what a wealthy CEO wanted with a struggling mechanic and his daughter. But the loneliness he had heard in her voice during that car ride had resonated with him, and he recognized a kindred spirit beneath all the differences in their circumstances. "All right," he agreed, "but I am doing this properly. You are paying me fairly for the work, and I get to decide what that rate is. No overpaying just because you feel generous." Fiona smiled. "Deal, though I reserve the right to provide lunch." They shook on it, and Gabriel felt the warmth of her hand in his, callus-free and soft. When Macy called for them to come watch her demonstrate a trick, they walked side by side to the backyard, and something shifted between them, subtle but undeniable. Over the next several weeks, Saturdays became Gabriel and Macy's day at Fiona's house. Gabriel worked on the yard, tackling projects in order of priority. Fiona often worked alongside him, claiming she wanted to learn, though she was clearly not used to manual labor. Gabriel found himself teaching her how to properly weed a flower bed, how to trim hedges at the right angle, how to test the pH of pond water. She was a quick study, asking intelligent questions and not shying away from getting dirt under her fingernails. Macy adopted Fiona with the easy acceptance of children, declaring her a friend after the second visit. Fiona, who had never spent much time around kids, was charmed by Macy's imagination and endless energy. She found herself looking forward to Saturdays with an anticipation she usually reserved for major business deals, counting down the days until she would see them again. Gabriel noticed the growing attachment and had mixed feelings about it. On one hand, he liked seeing Macy happy and forming positive relationships with adults beyond him and her mother. On the other hand, he worried about what would happen when this arrangement ended, as it inevitably would. Fiona would get bored or busy, her yard would be finished, and they would go back to their separate lives. He needed to protect Macy from getting too attached to something temporary, but it was getting harder to think of Fiona as temporary. The way she listened when he talked, really listened like his words mattered. The way she made sure there were always snacks Macy liked, remembering after one offhand comment that his daughter loved apple slices with peanut butter. The way she looked at him when she thought he was not paying attention, a softness in her expression that made his breath catch. Gabriel was not stupid. He recognized attraction, had felt the spark between them from that first coffee, but attraction was complicated by reality. Fiona was a millionaire CEO, and he was a mechanic living paycheck to paycheck. She inhabited a world of board meetings and business deals, while his world revolved around oil changes and making sure Macy had clean clothes for school. Even if they both felt something, the practical obstacles seemed insurmountable. One Saturday in late October, Gabriel was working on repairing a section of fence while Fiona and Macy raked leaves into large piles. He could hear his daughter's giggles as Fiona playfully threatened to dump leaves on her head, and the sound made him smile. Macy had not laughed like that in a long time, free and unguarded. "Daddy, come jump in the leaf pile," Macy called out. "I am working, sweetheart. Please." Fiona said she would take a video to show Mommy. Gabriel looked over to see both of them standing expectantly by a massive pile of leaves, and Fiona held up her phone with a grin. He could not resist that combination, his daughter's hopeful face and Fiona's playful challenge. He set down his tools and jogged over, scooping Macy up and jumping into the pile with an exaggerated roar. Leaves exploded around them, Macy shrieked with delight, and Fiona laughed so hard she had to sit down. Gabriel emerged from the leaves with Macy on his shoulders, both of them covered in debris. "Did you get it?" he asked Fiona. "Every second. That was perfect." Fiona was still smiling, her eyes bright. "You two are covered in leaves." "Your fault for building such an inviting pile," Gabriel replied, lifting Macy down. "All right, Mize, help me clean this up now." "But that is not as fun." "I know, but we made the mess, so we clean it up. That is the rule." Macy grumbled good-naturedly and started gathering leaves back into the pile. Fiona helped, working alongside them, and Gabriel was struck by how natural it all felt. Like they were a family spending a Saturday together, just normal people doing normal things. The thought should have scared him, but instead it filled him with a longing so intense it hurt. They finished the yard work earlier than usual, and Fiona convinced them to stay for dinner. "I made lasagna last night, and there is way too much for one person. Please, I would love the company." Gabriel agreed, telling himself it was because Macy was having such a good time, not because he desperately wanted to spend more time with Fiona. They ate in her dining room, Macy chattering about Halloween coming up and her planned costume. She wanted to be an astronaut, which required some creative costume construction on Gabriel's part. "I can help with that if you want," Fiona offered. "I am pretty good with a hot glue gun." "Really? Can she, Daddy?" Gabriel looked between their eager faces and surrendered. "Sure, if Fiona has time." "I will make time." Fiona's gaze held his for a moment longer than necessary, and Gabriel felt heat rise in his face. After dinner, Macy fell asleep on Fiona's couch, exhausted from the day's activities. Gabriel carried her to his car, and Fiona walked with him, the autumn evening cool around them. They stood by his car for a moment, neither wanting the day to end. "She is wonderful," Fiona said quietly, looking at Macy's sleeping face. "You are doing an amazing job with her." "I am doing my best. Some days that does not feel like enough. It is more than enough. She is happy, healthy, and clearly secure in your love for her. That is what matters." Gabriel looked at Fiona, at the sincerity in her expression. "Thank you, for today, for all of this. You have given us something special these Saturdays. I want you to know I appreciate it." "I appreciate it too, more than you know." Fiona hesitated, then continued. "I have been alone for a long time, Gabriel. I convinced myself I was fine with it, that my work was enough. But spending time with you and Macy has shown me what I have been missing. So thank you for letting me be part of your Saturdays." They stood close together in the driveway, the space between them charged with unspoken feelings. Gabriel wanted to kiss her, wanted it so badly his hands shook with the restraint of not reaching for her. But Macy was in the car, and this was complicated, and he did not want to ruin what they had built by moving too fast. "I should get her home," he said instead, his voice rougher than intended. "Of course. Same time next week?" "Yeah, same time." Gabriel drove away, watching Fiona in his rearview mirror until she disappeared from sight. His mind was racing, his heart beating too fast. He was falling for her, had probably been falling since that moment in the rain when he had seen her green eyes and made a split-second decision to help. But falling was dangerous when the ground beneath you was so uneven. Fiona stood in her driveway long after Gabriel's car disappeared, hugging herself against the evening chill. She had almost kissed him, had seen the same desire in his eyes that she felt burning through her. But the timing had been wrong, and she did not want to complicate things when they had found such an easy rhythm together. She went inside, cleaning up from dinner, putting away leftovers that she would probably eat alone throughout the week. The house felt emptier than usual, too quiet after the noise and laughter of the day. Fiona found herself in her home office, looking at the photo she had framed from their leaf pile adventure. Gabriel and Macy covered in leaves, both grinning at the camera with genuine joy. She had printed it on impulse, telling herself it was just a nice memory. But she knew the truth. She was falling in love with Gabriel Kent and his daughter, falling in a way she had never experienced before, complete and terrifying and wonderful all at once. The weeks passed. Halloween came and went with Macy's astronaut costume, being a huge success thanks to Fiona's hot glue gun skills. Gabriel's work on the yard was nearly complete, and both of them danced around the question of what would happen once there was no more work to justify their Saturdays together. Then, Gabriel's ex-wife threw a wrench into everything. She called him on a Tuesday evening, her voice tight with stress. "I need to talk to you about Thanksgiving." "Okay, what about it?" Tom proposed. "We are getting married in January." Tom was her boyfriend of 8 months, a pharmaceutical sales rep who Gabriel had met exactly once. "Congratulations. What does this have to do with Thanksgiving?" Tom got transferred to Portland. "We are moving in December, right after the wedding. I want Macy to come with us." Gabriel's world tilted. "What? No, absolutely not. Our custody agreement can be renegotiated. Gabriel, be reasonable. You work long hours for barely above minimum wage." "I can provide Macy with stability, a good school district, a house with a yard. Tom makes good money. We can give her opportunities you cannot." "Macy is not a thing to be bought with opportunities. She is happy here. She has friends, a school she likes, a father who loves her." Gabriel was pacing his small living room, panic and anger warring in his chest. And she would still have all of that in Portland, plus a stepfather who is excited about being in her life. "I am not trying to take her away from you, Gabriel, but you have to admit this is better for her long term." "I am not admitting anything. I need to talk to a lawyer." "Fine, but think about what is best for Macy, not what is easiest for you." She hung up, and Gabriel stood frozen in his apartment, his phone clenched in his white-knuckled grip. The thought of Macy moving 4 hours away, of seeing her every other weekend instead of half the week, of missing school plays and soccer games and bedtime stories, was unbearable. She was his daughter, the center of his world, and he could not lose her. He called Fiona without thinking, needing to hear a friendly voice. She answered on the second ring. "Gabriel, is everything okay?" "No," the word came out harsh. "No, everything is not okay. My ex-wife wants to move to Portland and take Macy with her. She is getting remarried and thinks her new husband can provide better for Macy than I can." "Oh, Gabriel." Fiona's voice was soft with sympathy. "I am so sorry. What are you going to do?" "Fight it. I do not care what it costs or how long it takes. I am fighting it. Macy belongs here with me as much as with her mother. I am not going to be a weekend dad who gets his daughter during summer vacations. Can I help? I have lawyers on retainer who specialize in family law. They are the best in the state." Gabriel wanted to say yes, wanted to accept any help that would keep his daughter close. But the words stuck in his throat. This was already crossing a line he had been careful not to cross, asking Fiona for more than she had already given. "I cannot ask you to do that. You are not asking. I am offering. Please, Gabriel, let me help. This is important and you should not have to face it alone because of pride or principle." "Why?" The question burst out of him. Why do you keep helping me? What do you get out of all this? There was a long pause on the other end of the line. When Fiona spoke again, her voice was quiet but steady. I get to be part of something real. I get to spend time with someone who does not see me as a bank account or a business opportunity. I get to know you and Macy, and that has meant more to me than you realize. So please, let me help because I care about you both and I want to. Gabriel closed his eyes, overwhelmed by the emotion in her words. Okay, thank you. I do not know how I will ever repay you for everything you have done. I do not want repayment, Gabriel. I want to help. Come over tomorrow evening and we will talk strategy, figure out your options. Okay. Thank you, Fiona. Really, thank you. They talked for a few more minutes before hanging up, and Gabriel felt marginally better knowing he was not facing this alone. But the fear remained, cold and heavy in his chest. What if the court decided Macy would be better off in Portland with more financial stability? What if his best was not good enough to keep his daughter in his life the way he needed her to be? The next evening, Gabriel went to Fiona's house after dropping Macy at her mother's. Fiona had already contacted her lawyers, and they joined via video call to discuss Gabriel's situation. The conversation was long and detailed, covering custody laws, the likelihood of success for each side, and potential strategies. The lawyers were honest. Courts favor stability, and if your ex-wife can demonstrate that the move would provide better educational opportunities and financial security, that weighs in her favor. However, you have been an active, present father with no history of neglect or irresponsibility. That weighs in yours. It will come down to what the judge believes is in the child's best interest, which could go either way, Gabriel said flatly. Unfortunately, yes, these cases are never guaranteed. The best thing you can do is demonstrate your commitment to your daughter and your ability to provide for her emotional and physical needs. After the call ended, Gabriel sat on Fiona's couch, his head in his hands. The lawyers had been professional and helpful, but the uncertainty was killing him. Fiona sat beside him, close but not touching, her presence a comfort. I feel helpless, Gabriel admitted. I have worked so hard to be a good father, to make sure Macy knows she is loved and secure despite the divorce. And now it might not matter because I cannot give her a big house and expensive vacations. It matters, Fiona said firmly. Love matters more than money, Gabriel. You know that. Macy knows that. But will a judge know that? I hope so. And if they do not, we will keep fighting until they do. Gabriel looked at her, at the determination in her face. Why are you so invested in this? In us? Fiona took a breath, and Gabriel could see her gathering courage. Because I am in love with you. I have been falling for weeks now, maybe from the moment you gave me your umbrella in the rain. I am in love with you and with Macy, and the thought of not having you both in my life is unbearable. So I am fighting for this because it matters to me, because you matter to me. Gabriel stared at her, his heart pounding. Fiona, I know this complicates things. I know we are from different worlds, and this probably seems crazy, but I needed you to know, needed to be honest about why I am helping. Fiona's hands were trembling. You do not have to say anything, I just wanted you to understand. Gabriel did not let her finish. He closed the distance between them and kissed her, pouring all his fear and hope and longing into the contact. Fiona responded immediately, her hands coming up to frame his face, kissing him back with equal intensity. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Gabriel pressed his forehead to hers. I am in love with you too, he said roughly. I have been fighting it because I did not think we could make this work, but I am in love with you, Fiona, completely. They kissed again, slower this time, savoring the taste and feel of each other. When they parted, Fiona was crying, tears streaming down her face. Gabriel wiped them away with his thumbs, his touch gentle. What are we going to do? Fiona asked. I do not know, but we will figure it out together. Gabriel pulled her close, holding her against his chest. I cannot promise you easy, Fiona. My life is complicated, and with this custody thing, it is going to get messier before it gets better. I do not need easy. I need real. And this is real, Gabriel, more real than anything I have ever felt. They stayed like that for a long time, wrapped around each other on the couch, both of them feeling like they had found something they had been searching for without knowing it. When Gabriel finally left, it was late, and they parted with another kiss that promised more to come. The custody battle began in earnest. Gabriel's ex-wife filed her motion to relocate with Macy, citing better opportunities and her upcoming marriage as reasons the court should approve. Gabriel counter-filed, arguing that Macy's relationship with her father was equally important and that he could provide everything she needed right here in Seattle. The legal process was grueling. There were depositions, home visits, and interviews with Macy that broke Gabriel's heart. His daughter did not understand why everyone kept asking her questions about where she wanted to live and who she loved more. Gabriel did everything he could to shield her from the worst of it, but there was no way to make it completely painless. Through it all, Fiona was there. She attended court dates when she could, sat with Gabriel during the worst moments, and provided both emotional support and legal resources. She got to know Macy better during this time, their Saturdays continuing even as the legal battle raged. Macy, with the intuition of children, seemed to understand that something was happening between her father and Fiona, and she approved wholeheartedly. "Daddy, are you and Fiona girlfriend and boyfriend?" she asked one evening while Gabriel was tucking her into bed. Gabriel considered how to answer. "We care about each other very much. How would you feel about that?" Macy considered this seriously. "I think it would be good. Fiona makes you smile more and she is really nice to me. Plus, she makes the best cookies." Gabriel laughed, hugging his daughter close. "Those are all very good reasons. I am glad you like her." "I love her, Daddy. She is like a friend and also like a grown-up I can trust." The simple statement made Gabriel's throat tight. "I love her too, sweetheart, very much." "Good. Because I think she loves us too." Smart kid, Gabriel thought. Macy had always been perceptive, picking up on emotions that adults tried to hide. The fact that she was comfortable with this relationship, even happy about it, meant everything to Gabriel. The custody hearing was scheduled for early December, giving both sides time to prepare their cases. Gabriel was nervous but determined, ready to prove that he was just as capable of providing for his daughter as his ex-wife and her new husband. The night before the hearing, Fiona came to his apartment for the first time. Gabriel had been embarrassed to invite her, knowing how small and shabby it was compared to her home, but Fiona had insisted she wanted to see where he lived. She walked through the small space, taking in the mismatched furniture and cramped kitchen, the drawings Macy had taped to the walls, and the general sense of a life lived paycheck to paycheck. But she did not look judgmental or pitying. She looked around with soft eyes, seeing the love in every corner, the care Gabriel took to make this place a home for his daughter. "It is perfect," she said finally. "It is small and kind of falling apart," Gabriel corrected. "It is full of love. That is what makes it perfect." Fiona sat on the couch, patting the space beside her. "Come here, we need to talk." Gabriel sat, and Fiona took his hands. "Tomorrow is going to be hard, but no matter what happens, we will handle it together. You are not alone in this, Gabriel. You have me, and I am not going anywhere." What if I lose? The fear that had been haunting him spilled out. What if the judge decides Macy is better off in Portland, and I lose half my time with her? Then we will figure out how to make the distance work. We will drive to Portland every other weekend. We will video chat every night. We will fight for every moment we can get. Fiona squeezed his hands. "But I do not think you are going to lose. You are an incredible father, and any judge who spends 5 minutes looking at your relationship with Macy will see that. I hope you are right." "I am right." Fiona leaned forward, kissing him softly. "Now come to bed with me. You need rest before tomorrow." They slept tangled together on Gabriel's couch, both of them too anxious to do more than hold each other. But the comfort of that closeness, the steady rhythm of breathing in sync, helped Gabriel feel centered in a way he had not felt in weeks. The custody hearing arrived with gray skies and cold rain, as if the weather was reflecting Gabriel's mood. He dressed in his one good suit, the one he had bought for his wedding and now wore to court dates and funerals. Fiona met him at the courthouse, looking professional in a dark dress and heels, her hair pulled back severely. She held his hand as they walked in, and Gabriel felt strength flow from her touch. The hearing itself was excruciating. Gabriel's ex-wife and her fiancé presented their case, talking about Tom's salary and the excellent school district in Portland and the opportunities Macy would have. Tom seemed like a decent guy, if a bit too eager to play the role of doting stepfather. Gabriel's ex-wife was calm and articulate, painting a picture of stability and prosperity that Gabriel could not match financially. Then it was Gabriel's turn. His lawyer asked him about his relationship with Macy, and Gabriel talked about bedtime stories and homework help and soccer games in the park. He talked about how Macy called him when she had a nightmare, how she trusted him to fix her broken toys and mend her scraped knees. He talked about being present, not just physically but emotionally, for every important moment in his daughter's life. The judge asked him about his financial situation, and Gabriel was honest. "I am not rich. I work hard, and sometimes it is a struggle to make ends meet. But Macy has never gone without anything she truly needs. She has a roof over her head, food on the table, and a father who would do anything for her. Money can buy a lot of things, Your Honor, but it cannot buy the bond Macy and I have built." The judge asked about Fiona, whose presence had not gone unnoticed. Gabriel explained their relationship, how they had met, and how she had become important to both him and Macy. He was careful to emphasize that Fiona was not a financial solution to his problems, but a partner who enriched their lives in ways that had nothing to do with money. Fiona herself was called to testify as a character witness. She spoke about Gabriel's dedication to his daughter, the way he put Macy's needs above everything else, including his own pride. She spoke about the love she had witnessed between them, genuine and unshakable. And she spoke about her own feelings, admitting in open court that she loved Gabriel and Macy and wanted to be part of their family, no matter what form that took. The judge listened to everything, asking occasional questions, her expression unreadable. Finally, after what felt like hours, she called for a brief recess to review the evidence and arguments. Gabriel and Fiona sat in the hallway outside the courtroom, both of them silent with anxiety. When they were called back in, Gabriel's heart was pounding so hard he thought everyone could hear it. The judge looked at all of them, her expression serious. "I have reviewed the testimony and evidence presented by both parties. This is a difficult case because both parents clearly love their daughter and want what is best for her. However, the law requires me to make a determination based on the child's best interests, not parental convenience." Gabriel held his breath. "Mr. Kent, you have demonstrated a strong, loving relationship with your daughter. Despite financial constraints, you have provided a stable home and have been an active, engaged parent. Mrs. Fenton, you have also been a good mother, and your plans to relocate are driven by legitimate reasons. However, I am not convinced that the benefits of relocation outweigh the harm that would come from disrupting Macy's relationship with her father. Therefore, I am denying the motion to relocate with the minor child. The existing custody arrangement will remain in place." Relief flooded through Gabriel so intensely he thought he might pass out. He heard Fiona gasp beside him, felt her hand grip his arm. His ex-wife looked stunned. Tom's face was tight with disappointment, but Gabriel could not focus on them. He had won. Macy was staying in Seattle. After the proceedings concluded, Gabriel and Fiona walked out of the courthouse into the rain. Neither of them cared. They stood on the steps, holding each other, rain soaking through their clothes. "You won," Fiona said, laughing and crying at the same time. "Gabriel, you won." "We won," Gabriel corrected, pulling back to look at her. "I could not have done this without you, Fiona. Your lawyers, your support, just you being there. We won. They kissed in the rain, a mirror of that first day when Gabriel had given away his umbrella, except now everything was different. Now they knew each other, loved each other, had fought for a future together. The kiss was full of promise and relief and joy. Gabriel picked up Macy from school that afternoon, and she knew immediately from his face that something good had happened. "Did you win, Daddy?" "Do I get to stay in Seattle?" "You get to stay," Gabriel confirmed, sweeping her into a hug. "You get to stay with me and keep going to your school and seeing your friends." Macy hugged him tight, and Gabriel felt tears on his face that had nothing to do with the rain. His daughter, his world, was not going anywhere. They were okay. That evening, the three of them celebrated at Fiona's house with pizza and ice cream and a movie. Macy fell asleep between them on the couch halfway through, content and secure. Gabriel carried her to the guest room Fiona had quietly set up over the past few weeks, complete with furniture and decorations in Macy's favorite colors. "When did you do this?" Gabriel asked, looking around the room that was clearly meant for his daughter. "Over the last month, I hoped. I wanted there to be a place for her here, for both of you, actually." Fiona showed him another room, this one set up as a comfortable space for Gabriel. "I know it is presumptuous, but I wanted you to know you are both welcome here anytime. Always." Gabriel pulled her close, kissing her forehead. "It is not presumptuous. It is perfect. You are perfect." They spent the night together, really together for the first time, expressing their love in the physical language that felt like a natural extension of everything else they had built. Afterward, lying in Fiona's bed with her head on his chest, Gabriel felt a peace he had not experienced in years. "What happens now?" Fiona asked quietly. "Now we figure out our life together, all three of us." Gabriel stroked her hair. "It is not going to be a traditional setup. I have Macy half the time, my work schedule is unpredictable, and I am never going to be wealthy. I do not care about traditional. I do not care about money. I care about you and Macy and building something real together." Fiona propped herself up on her elbow, looking at him seriously. "I want this, Gabriel, all of it. The complicated schedules, the co-parenting, the blended family dynamics, I want us. Then you have got us." Gabriel kissed her, sealing the promise. "For as long as you will have us, you have got us." The next several months were an adjustment. Gabriel and Macy started spending more time at Fiona's house, until it felt strange to be anywhere else. Gabriel kept his apartment out of practicality and pride, but most of his and Macy's belongings slowly migrated to Fiona's house. Macy had her own room there, decorated exactly to her specifications with help from Fiona. Gabriel had a workshop in the garage where he could work on projects, and both of them had a place in Fiona's life that felt permanent and right. Fiona adjusted to having a family. She learned Macy's schedule, her likes and dislikes, her moods and quirks. She learned how to be a supportive partner to Gabriel, understanding when he needed help and when he needed to handle things himself. She learned that family dinners were chaotic and wonderful, that bedtime routines were sacred, and that love came in 1,000 small moments as much as grand gestures. Gabriel learned to accept help without seeing it as charity. He learned that Fiona's wealth was just one aspect of who she was, not the defining feature. He learned to let her be part of his and Macy's life completely, not holding back out of fear or pride. He learned that love was not about what you could provide materially, but about showing up, being present, and fighting for the people who mattered. 8 months after the custody hearing, Gabriel proposed to Fiona in the backyard he had spent so many Saturdays fixing. It was a simple proposal, just him on one knee in the garden, Macy standing beside him holding the ring box, both of them asking Fiona to officially become part of their family. Fiona said yes through happy tears, pulling both of them into a hug. The ring was modest by her standards but perfect in its meaning, chosen by Gabriel with care and paid for with his own money, no help accepted. It represented equality, partnership, a future built together. They were married in a small ceremony 3 months later, with Macy as the flower girl and both families in attendance. Gabriel's ex-wife even came, having eventually made peace with the situation and recognizing that Fiona was a positive presence in Macy's life. The ceremony was simple but heartfelt, vows spoken with complete sincerity. "I promise to be your partner in all things," Gabriel said, holding Fiona's hands. "To support your dreams while pursuing my own, to love you on easy days and difficult ones. To be the man you saw that day in the rain, the one who helps without expecting anything in return, because you deserve that version of me always." "I promise to honor what we have built," Fiona replied, her voice steady despite her tears. "To respect your independence while offering my support. To love Macy as if she was my own, and to be worthy of the trust you have both placed in me. To be your partner, your equal, your home." They kissed as husband and wife, and Macy cheered louder than anyone else. The reception was a joyful affair, a blend of Fiona's corporate world and Gabriel's working-class roots, everyone coming together to celebrate a love story that had started with a simple act of kindness. After the wedding, life settled into a new rhythm. Gabriel continued working at the auto shop, though Fiona had quietly purchased the business when Terry wanted to retire, ensuring Gabriel would always have job security. Gabriel ran the shop himself now, a manager position that came with more responsibility and better pay, but still allowed him to work with his hands the way he loved. Fiona continued running Barrett Tech, though she restructured her schedule to allow for more family time. She worked from home when possible, attended Macy's school events, and made sure dinner as a family was a priority. Her company thrived, but now she had balance, something she had been missing her entire adult life. Macy flourished with two parents who were madly in love and completely devoted to her well-being. She grew confident and happy, secure in the knowledge that she was loved unconditionally. She called Fiona, Fiona, rather than Mom out of respect for her biological mother, but the bond between them was as strong as any parent-child relationship. 2 years after the wedding, Fiona discovered she was pregnant. The news came as a surprise to both her and Gabriel, as they had not been actively trying but had not been preventing it either. When she told him, Gabriel's face went through about a dozen emotions before landing on pure joy. "We are having a baby," he said, pulling her close. "Fiona, we are having a baby." "Are you happy?" Fiona asked, suddenly nervous. They had never explicitly discussed expanding their family. Happy does not even begin to cover it. Gabriel kissed her deeply. "You, me, Macy, and a baby, our family is growing." Macy was thrilled at the prospect of being a big sister, already making plans for all the things she would teach the baby. The pregnancy was smooth, and 8 months later, Fiona gave birth to a healthy baby boy they named Oliver. Gabriel was present for every moment of labor, holding Fiona's hand and supporting her through the difficult parts, completely in awe when his son was finally placed in his arms. "He looks like you," Fiona said, exhausted but radiant. "He has your nose," Gabriel countered, unable to look away from Oliver's tiny face. "He is perfect. You are perfect. I cannot believe this is my life." Macy met her baby brother the next day, holding him carefully with Gabriel's help. "Hi, Oliver. I am your big sister, Macy. We are going to have so many adventures together." Their family was complete, a blended, imperfect, beautiful mix of personalities and backgrounds. Gabriel still marveled sometimes at how his life had changed from that rainy day when he had given away his umbrella. He had been struggling then, barely keeping his head above water, doing his best for his daughter but constantly worried it was not enough. Now he had a wife he adored, 2 children he loved beyond measure, a fulfilling career, and a life richer than he had ever imagined possible. Not because of money, though financial security was certainly nice, but because of love and partnership and the family they had built together. Fiona felt the same wonder. She had been successful before meeting Gabriel, but empty in ways she had not fully recognized. Her life had been all work and no heart, all achievement and no connection. Gabriel and Macy had taught her what really mattered, had shown her that success meant nothing if you had no one to share it with. Now she had everything, a family that filled her house with noise and laughter, a husband who looked at her like she hung the moon, a stepdaughter who had stolen her heart, and a son who was the perfect combination of both his parents. The years continued to pass, bringing the normal challenges and joys of family life. Macy grew into a thoughtful teenager, navigating high school with the confidence of someone who knew she was loved. Oliver turned out to be a happy, energetic child who adored his big sister and idolized his father. Gabriel and Fiona's relationship deepened, the initial passion mellowing into something even more profound, a partnership built on respect, trust, and unwavering commitment. On their 5th wedding anniversary, they returned to the spot where Gabriel had first given Fiona his umbrella. It was raining again, a light drizzle that felt appropriate. They stood together under a new umbrella, Gabriel's arm around Fiona's waist, both of them remembering. "Do you ever regret it?" Gabriel asked. "Choosing this life, you could have had someone from your world, someone who fit better on paper." Fiona looked at him incredulously. "Regret choosing you, regret having this family. Gabriel, you are my world, you and Macy and Oliver. Everything good in my life started the day you gave me that umbrella. I gave you a thrift store umbrella and walked away in the rain. You gave me kindness when you had no reason to. You showed me what really matters. You gave me everything, Gabriel, even though you thought you had nothing to offer." Fiona kissed him, soft and sweet. "I would choose you 1,000 times over. In the rain, in the sunshine, in every circumstance imaginable, you are it for me." Gabriel held her close, the umbrella forgotten as rain began to fall harder around them. They stood in the rain together, just like that first day, but everything was different now. Then they had been strangers, one struggling and one lonely, both missing pieces of themselves they had not known were absent. Now they were whole. Now they were home. Now they were a family, built on the simple foundation of one man's decision to help a stranger in the rain, and the love that had grown from that singular act of kindness. And they lived happily, messily, beautifully ever after, their love story a testament to the power of compassion, the importance of seeing people beyond their circumstances, and the magic that can happen when two souls who seem impossibly different find each other in the rain and choose to build a life together. Their house was always full of noise and laughter, arguments and apologies, the beautiful chaos of a family that loved each other unconditionally. Gabriel continued to fix cars and taught Oliver everything he knew about engines. Fiona ran her company while making sure she never missed a school event or family dinner. Macy grew into an incredible young woman who understood the value of both hard work and kindness, having learned from the best examples. Oliver grew strong and happy, secure in the love of parents who adored each other and him. And sometimes, on rainy days, Gabriel and Fiona would stand together and remember that day when everything changed. When a struggling mechanic gave his umbrella to a lonely millionaire, unaware that she was watching him not with calculation or interest in what he could provide, but with the dawning recognition that she had just met someone extraordinary. Someone real. Someone who would change her life forever. That umbrella hung in their entryway now, a memento of where they started. A reminder that love could begin in the most unexpected ways, between the most unlikely people, and grow into something that surpassed all expectations. A symbol of Gabriel's inherent goodness and Fiona's desire for authentic connection. Two qualities that had brought them together and kept them strong through every challenge they faced. Their love story was not about a millionaire saving a poor man or a kind gesture being rewarded with wealth. It was about two people seeing each other truly, without the filters of class or circumstance, and choosing to build something beautiful together. It was about partnership and respect, about blending lives and families, about love that grew deeper with every passing year. It was about a man who gave away something he needed because someone else needed it more, and a woman who recognized the value of that kindness in a world that too often forgot such things mattered. It was about finding home in each other, about becoming better versions of themselves together than they ever could have been apart. And it was about family, the one they built with intention and love, raising children who understood that wealth came in many forms, that kindness was never wasted, and that love was the greatest gift anyone could give or receive. They taught Macy and Oliver by example that success meant nothing without people to share it with, that helping others was not transactional but simply the right thing to do, and that family was not always about blood but always about choice and commitment and showing up day after day, year after year. Gabriel Kent and Fiona Barrett built a beautiful life together, one ordinary, extraordinary day at a time, their love growing stronger and deeper with each passing season. And it all started with an umbrella, a rainstorm, and one man's decision to help a stranger, never imagining that in giving away that simple thing, he was setting in motion a love story that would change both their lives forever. They were happy, completely and genuinely happy, in a way that had nothing to do with money or status, and everything to do with choosing each other every single day. Their story was proof that love could bridge any gap, that kindness always mattered, and that sometimes the most profound connections came from the simplest gestures. And they lived that truth together for all the days of their lives, loving each other and their children with everything they had, grateful every day for that rainy afternoon when their paths had crossed, and their futures had become forever intertwined.